Betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from those you die for, your family. When love becomes a transaction, how do you break free? This is a story of one man's fight to reclaim his life from those who used him. My name is Ethan, 34, a mechanic living in a small apartment above my auto shop in Ohio. My life wasn't always this stable. Growing up, my family was a hurricane, always some crisis, always needing something. Mom, dad, my older sister Lily, and younger brother Nate. We were close, or so I thought, bonded by chaos. I was the kid who'd fix things, a leaky faucet, a busted car, or mom's tears when dad drank too much. By 16, I was working part-time at a garage to help pay bills. It wasn't noble, it was survival. After high school, I didn't have dreams of college or big cities. I just wanted steady, got my mechanic's certification, saved every penny, and by 28, I owned my shop. It's not glamorous, grease stains, long hours, customers yelling about estimates, but it's mine. I built a life, a decent truck, a one-bedroom with a couch I actually picked out, and savings for a rainy day. I thought I'd escape the chaos, but family has a way of pulling you back. Mom would call, voice shaky, saying the power was about to be cut off. Ethan, we're short $300. You're doing so well. Can you help? Or Nate, swearing he just needed $500 for car repairs to keep his delivery job. Lily was the worst, always some medical emergency, like her kid's asthma meds or a hospital bill. I'd Venmo the money, no questions asked. They were family. You don't let family drown. It started small, maybe a few $100 a year, but by my 30s, it was thousands. I'd skip my own vacations, tell myself I didn't need a new TV, because family came first. They'd thank me, call me their rock, but the calls never stopped. I didn't mind too much. Business was good, and I could handle it, or so I thought. Last year, something shifted. I was working late, elbows deep in a Chevy's engine, when my buddy Mike, who runs a diner nearby, asked why I never took a break. You're always bailing out your folks, he said. Ever wonder what they're doing with the cash? I laughed it off. They were struggling, right? But his words stuck. I started noticing things. Mom's emergency calls came right after she'd post about a new purse on Facebook. Nate's car repairs coincided with him bragging about a new gaming console. Lily's kid looked fine, but she was always vague about those hospital bills. Then came the photo that broke me. Scrolling Instagram, I saw Lily's post. Her, mom, dad, and Nate, all grins, posing on a beach in Florida. Caption, family vaki, living our best life. My stomach dropped. I'd sent them $2,000 the week before for Nate's rent. I sat in my shop, staring at that photo, grease on my hands, feeling like an idiot. They weren't broke. They were playing me. I called Mom that night. What's with the vacation? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She laughed, said it was a cheap last-minute deal. I pressed harder. How'd you afford it? I sent you money for Nate's rent. She got defensive, said I was prying into their business. Dad got on the line, yelling that I was ungrateful, that I owed them for raising me. Lily texted later, "You're so selfish, Ethan. We needed a break." Nate just blocked me. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying every dollar I'd sent. Every time I'd skip the night out to cover their emergencies. I felt used, like a bank they could hit up whenever. But worse, I felt alone. My family, the people I'd built my life around, saw me as a wallet, not a son, not a brother. I didn't know what to do, but I knew I couldn't keep being their ATM. Growing up, my family was a tangle of love and chaos, like a car engine that runs but sputters. We lived in a cramped house in Toledo, Ohio, where the walls seemed to hold more arguments than paint. Mom was a part-time cashier, always stressed about bills. Dad worked odd jobs, construction, delivery, whatever paid, but he'd blow half his check at the bar. Lily, 3 years older, was the golden child, always charming her way out of trouble. Nate, 2 years younger, was the baby, coddled and reckless. Me? I was the fixer, the one who kept things running. I was 10 when I first noticed we were different. Other kids had family game nights. We had shouting matches over late rent. I'd hear Mom crying in the kitchen, Dad promising to figure it out, but they never did. By 12, I was mowing lawns to help with groceries. At 15, I got a job washing dishes at a diner, slipping Mom $50 here and there. She'd hug me, call me her little man. It felt good to help, like I was holding us together. High school was a blur. I wasn't a star student, too busy working at a garage after class. Cars made sense to me. You diagnose the problem, replace the part, and it runs. People were messier. Lily got pregnant at 19, dropped out of community college, and moved back home with her baby, Emma. Nate was always in trouble, skipping school, joyriding, you name it. I'd pick him up from parties at 2 a.m., lecture him like I was his dad. He'd laugh, say, "Chill, you're not my boss." But I felt like I had to be. When I was 20, I moved out, renting a tiny room near the garage where I worked. I'd visit home every Sunday, bringing pizza or fixing something, a leaky pipe. Mom's old Chevy. They'd tell me how proud they were, how I was making it. I believed them. I thought we were a team, scraping by together. I saved up, took night classes for my mechanic certification, and by 28, I bought my shop. It was a proud day. Mom cried, Dad slapped my back, and Lily said Emma wanted to be just like Uncle Ethan. I felt like I'd done something right. Money was tight at first, but I was careful. No fancy vacations, no new clothes unless my jeans were shredded. I'd send Mom $200 when she said the gas bill was overdue. Nate needed $300 for school supplies once. Though he was 22 and not in school, Lily's emergencies were always vague. $400 for Emma's daycare, $600 for medical stuff. I never asked for receipts. They were family. You trust family, right? Looking back, I was naive. I thought their gratitude was real. Mom would bake me cookies, Dad would call me the man of the house, and Lily'd send pictures of Emma and clothes I'd paid for. It felt like love. I didn't see the pattern. Every time I got a little ahead, saved for a new tool or a better apartment, they'd call with a new crisis. I'd dip into my savings, tell myself it was temporary. My shop was doing okay, so I could afford it. But it was never just once. I had friends, like Mike from the diner, but I kept them at arm's length. Family was my priority. I'd cancel plans to fix Dad's truck or drive Lily to some appointment. Mike would joke, "You're married to your family." I'd laugh, but he wasn't wrong. I didn't date much, too busy, too tired. My life was the shop in them. I thought that's what family was. Sacrifice, loyalty, no questions asked. I didn't know I was being groomed to be their safety net, that my stability was just a resource they'd tap until it ran dry. By my early 30s, I was proud but exhausted. My shop was thriving, but my savings weren't. I'd lie awake, wondering why I couldn't get ahead. Still, I never doubted my family. They needed me, and I needed to be needed. That's what I told myself, anyway. Until that Instagram photo shattered everything. Looking back, the signs were there, but I was too busy keeping my head above water to notice. My family's requests for money started small, almost reasonable, but over time, they got bolder, slicker, like they'd rehearsed their lines. I thought I was saving my family, only to realize they were playing me like a fiddle. It started subtly. When I was 25, still renting that cramped room near the garage, Mom called one night, voice trembling. The landlord's threatening to evict us. We're short $400. Can you help? I wired the money, heart racing, picturing them homeless. A week later, I saw her post a picture of a new dining table, sprucing up the place. She captioned it. I brushed it off. Maybe they'd worked it out. I didn't ask. Asking felt like betraying her. Nate was worse. He'd call, always with a sob story. My car's busted. I'll lose my job without it. Just $300. I swear I'll pay you back. I'd send it, and he'd text a quick, "Thanks, bro." But the repayments never came. Once, I drove by his place and saw his car parked fine, shiny new rims gleaming. I told myself he must have fixed it cheap. Deep down, I knew better, but I didn't want to believe it. Lily was the master. She'd lean on Emma, her daughter, to tug at my heart. Emma's meds ran out. It's $500, or she'll end up in the ER. I'd send the money, picturing my niece struggling to breathe. But when I'd visit, Emma was bouncing around, healthy as ever. I'd ask Lily, "How's Emma doing?" She'd wave it off. "Oh, she's fine now, thanks to you." No details, no receipts. Once, I saw a new smartwatch on her wrist. "Gift from a friend," she said. Avoiding my eyes, I let it slide. Family doesn't accuse family, right? By my late 20s, the requests were constant. Dad needed $200 for tools for a job that never materialized. Mom's utility bills came like clockwork, always just before they'd post about a new gadget or dinner out. I was working 60-hour weeks at my shop, eating ramen to save cash. While they seemed to live better than me, I started feeling this knot in my gut, like I was being used. But I'd push it down. Their family, they wouldn't do that. The manipulation wasn't just about money. They knew how to keep me hooked. Mom would call me her hero, say she didn't know what they'd do without me. Dad would brag to his buddies, "My son's got his own business," like he'd had anything to do with it. Lily would send me pictures of Emma holding a "We love Uncle Ethan" sign. It made me feel needed, like I was the glue holding us together. But it was a trap. Every time I hesitated, they'd guilt me. "After all we've done for you," Mom would say. Her voice sharp, "You're doing so well. Don't be selfish," Lily would add. Nate just sulked, acting like I'd betrayed him if I questioned anything. I started noticing their stories didn't add up. Mom said the power was cut off, but when I visited, the lights were on, and they had a new flat screen. Nate's job seemed to involve more partying than working. Lily's emergencies were always urgent but vague. Never a doctor's note, never a straight answer. I'd lie awake, replaying their words, wondering if I was crazy. Mike, my diner buddy, saw it before I did. "They're bleeding you dry," he said one night over beers. "Check their stories. You're not their dad." I got defensive, told him he didn't understand family, but his words planted a seed. The real red flag was Christmas 2 years ago. I'd sent them $1,000 for bills in November, skipped my own holiday plans to save money. Then I saw Lily's Facebook. The whole family at a fancy restaurant, toasting with wine, presents piled high. I wasn't invited. I sat alone in my apartment, staring at that post, feeling like a fool. They weren't struggling, they were living it up, and I was funding it. Still, I didn't confront them. I told myself I was overreacting, but that knot in my gut was growing, and it wouldn't go away. By 33, I was starting to see the cracks in my family's facade, but nothing prepared me for how ugly it got. That Instagram photo of their Florida vacation, posted a week after I'd sent $2,000 for Nate's rent, was the match that lit the fire. I couldn't ignore it anymore. My family wasn't just leaning on me. They were lying, and I was their ATM. I called Mom the next day, my hand shaking as I held the phone. "You said Nate needed rent money. How'd you afford a beach trip?" I asked. Her voice turned cold. "We got a deal. Why are you interrogating us?" Dad jumped in, yelling, "You think you're better than us because you've got your little shop?" Lily texted me a novel. "You're so selfish. We needed that trip to cope with stress. You don't get it." Nate didn't bother replying. He blocked me. I felt like I'd been punched. I'd given them everything, and they turned it around like I was the bad guy. It didn't stop there. The calls kept coming, but now they were demands, not requests. Mom needed $600 for car insurance a month later. I asked for proof. First time ever, she cried, said I didn't trust her, that I was breaking her heart. I sent $200, not the full amount, hoping they'd see I wasn't a bottomless wallet. Instead, Dad called, slurring his words, saying I was a disgrace for letting them struggle. Lily piled on, texting, "Emma's asking why Uncle Ethan doesn't care about us anymore." That one cut deep. I loved Emma. I lay awake that night, picturing her confused face, wondering if I was the selfish one. The emotional toll was heavy. I'd always been the steady one, but now I was unraveling. At the shop, I'd snap at customers over nothing, my hands clumsy with tools. I stopped sleeping right, kept replaying their words: selfish, ungrateful, disgrace. My savings were down to $3,000, half what I'd had a year ago. I'd canceled plans for a new diagnostic machine for the shop because of their emergencies. I felt like I was failing, not just them, but myself. Then they escalated. Lily showed up at my shop one day, Emma in tow, tears in her eyes. "Emma's daycare won't take her unless I pay $800 by tomorrow," she said. Emma hugged my leg, saying, "Please, Uncle Ethan." I wrote the check, heartbreaking, but something felt off. The next week, I called the daycare, couldn't help myself. They said Lily hadn't owed anything in months. I confronted her. She screamed, called me paranoid, said I was spying on her. Mom backed her up. "How dare you accuse your sister?" Dad told our aunts and uncles I was too big for my britches. And suddenly I was getting texts from cousins I barely knew, saying I'd abandoned the family. I started shutting down. I'd see mom's number on my phone and let it go to voicemail. I'd mute their texts, but the guilt ate at me. Was I wrong? Was I abandoning them? I'd spent my life being their rock, and now I was the villain. My confidence tanked. I'd second guess every repaired job, worry I was screwing up my business. Mike noticed, said I looked like a ghost. They're gaslighting you, man, he said. I didn't know what that meant then, but I felt it. The way they twisted my doubts made me question my own reality. The breaking point came when Nate posted a photo of a new motorcycle. I'd sent him $1,200 for medical bills 2 weeks earlier. I commented, "Nice bike. Paid for it with my money?" He deleted my comment, but mom called, furious, "You're embarrassing us. You don't know what we're going through." I hung up, hands trembling, and cried for the first time in years. I wasn't just hurt, I was broken. My family didn't love me. They loved what I could give them, and I'd let them drain me dry, not just of money, but of trust, of hope, of who I was. At 34, I hit rock bottom. My family's betrayal didn't just empty my bank account, it hollowed me out. After that motorcycle photo, I stopped answering their calls, but the damage was done. I was a shell, doubting everything, my choices, my worth, my life. Work was a mess. My shop, once my pride, felt like a burden. I'd spent years building it, but now I was behind on bills because I'd funneled so much to my family. A customer chewed me out for a botched oil change. I'd forgotten to tighten a cap, a rookie mistake. "You're slipping," he said. He wasn't wrong. I'd stare at engines, unable to focus, haunted by Lily's texts. "You're tearing us apart." Mom's voicemails. "We raised you better than this." Even Emma's voice, recorded in one message. "Why don't you love us, Uncle Ethan?" I'd play it over and over, hating myself. My savings were gone. I'd had $10,000 set aside for emergencies, maybe a down payment on a house someday. Now it was $1,200, barely enough for rent and utilities. I'd stopped eating out, canceled my gym membership, even skipped oil changes on my own truck. I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, calculating how much I'd given them. $15,000, maybe $20,000 over the years. For what? Their vacations, their gadgets, their lies. The loneliness was worse than the money. I'd always had my family, chaotic as they were. Now, I had no one. They'd turned our extended family against me. My Aunt Carol called, saying, "Your mom's heartbroken. Why are you doing this?" I tried explaining, but she cut me off. Family sticks together. I stopped going to family gatherings. Cousins stopped inviting me. I'd scroll through their posts, barbecues, birthdays, all without me, and feel like I'd been erased. I pushed away the few friends I had. I tried to check in, but I'd blow him off. Too ashamed to admit how bad things were, I'd sit in my apartment, lights off, drinking cheap beer, wondering where I'd gone wrong. Was I selfish? Had I failed them? I'd always been the fixer, but I couldn't fix this. I started avoiding mirrors. I didn't recognize the guy staring back. I sunken, shoulders slumped. I was 34, but I felt like I'd aged a decade. One night, I hit my lowest. A customer's car broke down after a repair I'd done. They left a scathing review online. "Ethan's auto is a scam. Don't trust him." My stomach churned. I'd prided myself on honest work, and now my reputation was cracking. I sat in my shop after hours, tools scattered, and thought about selling it. Just walk away, start over somewhere else. But where? I had no money, no plan, no one to lean on. I grabbed a wrench, half wanting to smash something, but instead I just sat there, sobbing. I'd given my family everything, my time, my money, my heart, and they'd left me with nothing. The next morning, I got a text from Lily. "Emma's birthday is next week. You gonna show up? Or are you too good for us now?" Attached was a photo of Emma, smiling, holding a stuffed bear I'd bought her. It was a gut punch. I wanted to go, to hug Emma, to pretend we were still a family. But I knew it was a trap. They'd ask for money, guilt me, pull me back in. I didn't reply. Instead, I turned off my phone and sat in silence, feeling like I'd lost everything that mattered. I wasn't just broke. I was broken. I didn't know how to climb out of this hole, or if I even could. All I knew was that I couldn't keep living like this, letting their lies define me. But what came next? I had no idea. At my lowest, something clicked. Rock bottom has a way of forcing you to see clearly. My family's betrayal had stripped me bare, but in that emptiness, I started to understand. I wasn't the problem, they were, and I didn't have to keep playing their game. It started with a conversation at Mike's diner. I've been dodging him for weeks, too embarrassed to face anyone. But one rainy evening, I dragged myself in, ordered a coffee, and just sat there, staring at the cup. Mike slid into the booth across from me. "You look like hell," he said, not unkindly. I didn't want to talk, but he wouldn't let it go. "What's going on?" "Your family again." I spilled it all, the vacation photo, the lies, the guilt trips, Emma's birthday text. He listened, didn't interrupt, just nodded. When I finished, he said, "They're not your responsibility, man. You're not their dad. You're allowed to live your own life." His words hit like a wrench to the chest. My whole life, I'd been raised to believe family was everything, that I had to carry them. But Mike was right. I wasn't their parent. I was their son, their brother, and they'd turned that into a leash. I went home and pulled up my bank statements, tallying every dollar I'd sent them. It was over $18,000 in 5 years. That could have been a new truck, a down payment, a real vacation. Instead, it was their beach trips and motorcycles. I felt sick, but also angry, not just at them, but at myself for letting it happen. I started researching online, reading about toxic families, manipulation, gaslighting. Every article felt like it was written about me, the guilt trips, the vague emergencies, the way they'd make me feel like the bad guy. It was textbook. I found a Reddit thread on r/raised by narcissists, people sharing stories like mine. One guy wrote, "Cutting off my family was like amputating a limb, but I could finally walk." That stuck with me. I didn't want to lose them, especially Emma, but I couldn't keep bleeding for them. I decided to test the waters. I texted Mom, "I'm tapped out, can't send money anymore." Her reply was instant. "How can you do this to us? We're your family." No questions about how I was doing, no concern for me, just more guilt. I didn't respond. Nate called, left a voicemail. "You're really gonna let us sink, huh? Real nice." Lily sent a photo of Emma crying, with the message, "This is on you." I stared at that photo for an hour, heartbreaking, but I saw it for what it was: manipulation. They were using Emma to keep me hooked. The shift came when I stopped reacting. I blocked their numbers, muted their social media. It felt like betrayal, like I was abandoning them. But I forced myself to keep going. I started small, fixed my sleep schedule, ate actual meals instead of takeout. At the shop, I apologized to the customer I'd messed up with, offered a free repair. He left a better review. Ethan's a stand-up guy. It was a tiny win, but it reminded me who I was. I leaned on Mike more, started hanging out with him and his wife, Sarah. They invited me to their game nights, introduced me to their friends. For the first time, I felt like I belonged somewhere that wasn't a transaction. Sarah said something that stuck. "Family's who you choose, not who you're stuck with." I started seeing a therapist online, cheap, but it helped. She taught me about boundaries, how to say no without guilt. I realized I'd never had them, not with my family. I'd been raised to think no was selfish, but it wasn't. It was survival. By spring, I was different, not fixed, not whole, but stronger. I looked at my shop with new eyes. It was mine, built by me, not them. I started saving again, $50 here, $100 there. I wasn't free yet, but I was moving. My family's lies had broken me, but they'd also woken me up. I wasn't their ATM anymore. I was done carrying their weight. After hitting rock bottom, I started rebuilding. It wasn't easy. Cutting off my family left a hole, but it also gave me space to grow. For the first time, I was choosing myself, and it felt like taking back my life. The first step was my shop. I'd let it slide, distracted by family drama, but it was still my foundation. I stayed late, organized my tools, updated my bookkeeping. I took out a small loan to buy that diagnostic machine I'd put off. It paid off. Customers noticed the improved service. One guy, a regular, said, "Shop's looking sharp." I started getting more referrals, and my Yelp rating climbed back up. I wasn't just fixing cars. I was fixing my pride. Money was tight, but I got disciplined. I set up a budget, something I'd never done. Every paycheck, I put 10% into savings, no matter what. By summer, I had $2,500 tucked away. Not much, but it was mine. not my family's. I stopped checking their social media, stopped wondering if they were struggling. They weren't my problem anymore. That realization was freedom. I leaned into my new family. Mike and Sarah became my anchors. Their game nights turned into weekly dinners, where I met their friends. Good people, not perfect, but real. There was Tara, a nurse who'd crack jokes about her bad dates, and Carlos, a teacher who'd nerd out about cars with me. They didn't ask for anything, just my company. One night, Tara said, "You're one of us now." I nearly choked up. I hadn't realized how much I needed that. Therapy helped, too. My therapist, Dr. Lee, pushed me to face the guilt. "You were conditioned to feel responsible," she said, "but their choices aren't yours." We worked on boundaries, saying no, not explaining myself. I practiced with small things, like telling a pushy customer I couldn't discount a repair. It felt awkward, but empowering. I started seeing myself differently, not as the family fixer, but as a guy who deserved his own life. I took risks I'd avoided before. I joined a local car club, started going to meets on weekends. I met guys who loved wrenching as much as I did. We'd swap tips, work on projects together. One guy, Dave, offered me a side gig restoring a vintage Mustang. It paid $3,000, enough to pad my savings and buy a new couch. My choice, not a hand-me-down. I started dating, too, nothing serious. But a coffee date with a woman from the car club felt like a step. I was nervous, but she laughed at my dumb jokes, and I felt like myself again, not the guy who'd been bled dry. The hardest part was Emma. I missed her, wondered if she thought I'd abandoned her. I sent a birthday card with $20 and a note. "Love you always, Uncle Ethan." Lily never acknowledged it, but I hoped Emma got it. I had to accept I couldn't save her from her mom's choices. Maybe one day, when she's older, we'd reconnect. For now, I had to protect myself. By fall, I decided to move. Toledo was too full of ghosts. My family's house, their lies. I found a small shop for sale in Columbus, 120 miles away. It was a risk, but I had enough saved for a down payment. I sold my old shop, packed my truck, and left. The new place was smaller, but it was a fresh start. I hung a sign. Ethan's Auto Repair. No one knew me as the guy who bailed out his family. I was just a mechanic. I wasn't fully healed. Some nights, I'd dream about Mom crying or Nate's angry voicemails. But I was stronger. I'd learned to say no, to choose who deserved my time, my money, my heart. My family had taken a lot, but they couldn't take my future. I was building it. One day, $1, one friend at a time, and for the first time, I felt like I was enough. A year after cutting off my family, I found something I never thought I'd have. Peace. Moving to Columbus was the final step in reclaiming my life. My new shop is small, but it's mine, and every day I walk in, I feel like I'm building something real, not just patching someone else's mess. The first few months in Columbus were tough, but good. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment, nothing fancy, but I picked out every piece of furniture myself. No hand-me-downs, no ghosts. My savings grew. $5,000, then $7,000. I started planning for the future. Maybe a house, maybe a trip somewhere I'd never been. Work was steady, and I got to know my customers. One guy, Mr. Thompson, brought his old Ford every month, always with a story about his kids. He'd say, "You're a good man." It meant more than he knew. I built a new family, too. Not by blood, but by choice. Mike and Sarah visited when they could, and I made new friends at the car club. Tara and I became close. We'd grab beers, talk about life. She'd been through her own family drama, so she got it. "You don't owe anyone your soul," she told me once. I believed her. I even started dating again. A woman named Claire from the club. We'd work on cars together, laugh over greasy hands. It wasn't love yet, but it was honest, and that was enough. My family didn't disappear completely. Lily sent a text 6 months in. "Emma misses you. You're breaking her heart." I didn't reply. It hurt, but I knew it was another hook. Mom left a voicemail once, voice soft. "We're struggling, can we talk?" I listened to it 10 times, almost called back, but I didn't. Dr. Lee, my therapist, helped me see it. They weren't reaching out to reconnect. They wanted their ATM back. I kept them blocked. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. The extended family drama faded, too. Aunt Carol reached out, apologized after hearing my side from a cousin who'd seen through the lies. She invited me to a barbecue, but I declined. I wasn't ready to step back into that world. Maybe someday, but not yet. I sent Emma a Christmas gift, a stuffed bear and a card. No response, but I hoped she smiled when she got it. The biggest change was inside me. I stopped feeling like I had to fix everyone. I learned to say no, not just to my family, but to pushy customers, to my own guilt. I started trusting myself. At the shop, I took on bigger jobs, restored a '67 Camaro for a client, and got featured in a local car magazine. It wasn't just about the money. It was proof I was more than my family's wallet. The takeaway? Family isn't a debt you owe forever. Sometimes, the people who raised you, who share your blood, are the ones who'll hurt you most. Walking away doesn't make you selfish. It makes you whole. I spent years thinking I had to carry them, that their problems were mine to fix. But I was wrong. My job was to build my own life, to choose who I let in. Now, I've got a shop that's thriving, friends who show up without asking for a dime, and a future I can see clearly. I miss Emma, miss the idea of the family we could have been, but I don't miss the lies. I'm not their hero anymore, and that's okay. I'm my own.